everyone. Welcome to Empowering Exceptional Minds, the podcast diving into neurodiversity through real conversations with parents, individuals, and professionals on challenges, strengths, and unique experiences. I'm your host, Mayan Glazer-Corin, educational therapist, ADHD educator, and ASD certified specialist. At Educational Therapy LLC, we support kids and adults with executive function and learning differences toward confidence and independence. This podcast collaborates with WIS Therapy, connecting individuals to providers and streamlining services for neurodiverse communities. Our goal is to share strategies, stories, and insights to empower families, educators, and professionals. This podcast is for informational, educational purposes only and isn't medical, psychological, or legal advice. Consult professionals for concerns. Guest views are their own, not necessarily the host's or WIS therapies. By listening, you agree neither host nor guests are responsible for actions based on this content. A quick note, for concerns about well-being or mental health, contact a doctor or professional in your area. For emergency, dial 911. Crisis text line, text 741-741 anywhere in the United States. Hello. Welcome back to our listeners. I am super excited. I'm excited every time we have a podcast. So today I have a friend and a colleague, and her name is Neta Shani, and Neta is a Chinese medicine practitioner. She specializes in sensory processing and emotional regulation, and she's also the creator of Mistake and Friends. And I can't wait for her to introduce herself and tell you all about the good work that she does. Neta, welcome aboard. Please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us, how did you get to do what you do? This is so awesome.
Thank you. Very excited to be here today. So when I started over 20 years ago, I started in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and shiatsu. And I always wanted to work with kids, so I specialized in that. And a few years in, I started encountering challenges with my own kids that usually Chinese medicine resolves quite quickly, but I felt like I was stuck. Something was not working, and I didn't know to put my finger on it because I never even knew that there was such a thing as sensory processing challenges. But when I was stuck, I went and did what I love doing and searched for new tools. I always do that. I search for something new and then I combine it into my own. And so I encountered a technique called NAT, which is allergy elimination technique, looking for what our body recognizes wrong and accidentally let the body bully it. And it worked amazing. I found that different sensitivities, such as dust or gluten, can cause physical challenges, but also actually affect behavior. And I added that to my practice. I started working with sensitivities, and then kids that came in for maybe vocal tics or allergies, belly aches, constipation, the usual things I was working with. And they had other challenges in the background. So maybe they were hugging kids that didn't want to be hugged and complaining that they don't really want to do it. It's like their brain isn't listening to me, or um, having sensory challenges and working with an OT, but fighting the OT, like feeling like they're rejecting it and having emotional problems around it. And I said, as we're anyway working with the kid, maybe we'll try to address those things that I never heard about before, but maybe we can address it too. And then I learned that it's this kind of the same. It's the body recognizes something wrong and overreacting to it. So I was fascinated with our brain and how flexible it was and how much of a difference we can make. So I started specializing in that. And when COVID started, I had another shift where I saw a lot of kids with a lot of anxiety and social issues. And I felt like, again, I want to add something. And that's when I added a tool called biofeedback, where there's a sensor, finger sensor or ear sensor, and it shows you on the computer how you're really feeling inside. And kids loved it. They called it the lie detector because
Mhm.
it helped them realize when they were feeling stress, sometimes not even aware, and how it was affecting their body or their emotions, and what helps them feel better. And I was surprised to see that the biggest stress was when I'd ask them a personal question and they don't know to say how they're feeling. And I'd look at the parent, and the parent would say, "Oh, it's the same for us. We're very reserved. We don't share feelings." So they copy us. And I said, "Okay, I need to also help with that." Like I address the physical stress, but there's also a lot of um, lack of emotional tools. So that's when I started also creating games and simple activities we could do at the clinic and help build that communication between the parent and child. And later on, when I joined forces with Chagit, my business partner, I brought my characters, and she brought her character Mistake, and we made them into Mistaken Friends. Which was it was a long journey, but what we do with that is we teach kids that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to be different. We're all who we are, and we want to embrace all those parts in us. And mistakes friends are actually the Chinese five elements. So we all have parts of them within us. So some of us are more fiery, like happy and dramatic and love audience, and that's the drama mia within us. Some of us are more that, and some of us get frustrated very easily. That's the wood elements, that's the angry. So we chose names that kind of represent the dominant emotion in each one. And we want kids to relate to them. So we can easily teach them that language of emotions through play. Um, and I can say that one thing is in common in Chinese medicine and those tools is most kids don't want to get acupuncture. Most kids don't want to talk emotions. Some do, but most come in and say, I don't. And what I always do is say, you know what? Let's just play. We don't need to do a session. We don't need to, let's just play. And while we're playing, while we're engaging in other things and creating a safe space and a fun space, I would always, oh, can we add like a pressure point? Can we add a little massage? Or while we're playing cards, we talk. And it comes together, right? The physical and the emotional, and we open up and we work through the body and through bonding.
Yeah, it goes with so those who know me, they know that I am a big fan of the polyvagal theory with Stephen Porter's work, the vagus nerve, and that we all need connection in order to open up and talk about our challenges. And we always say that play, even with the teens that we work with, it's such a crucial part because especially with teens, this is where we see more of like what you said, I don't want to talk about it. So how do you get so what is the age group that you see like in your practices?
So I work with all ages. With babies, I teach mom, I see them for colic or reflux, or I teach baby shiatsu massage, and I tell parents, yes, you're coming here for the bond because the power of touch and the communication it builds is amazing. And some come because the baby isn't sleeping well enough and you want to learn to help baby relax and sleep better. Some are for gas. And I tell them, even if you don't know, you are already preventing so many things that could have been challenges in the future just by adding this super, super relaxing and bonding tool. Because when kids come at older ages, like 3, 4, 7, 10, and they come for sensory challenges, they come in for ADHD, which could be so many different things. Sometimes they bring them for one thing and then they complain about other things in the background. And I'm like, oh, let's address it. Like parents will say, yes, they're making sounds all the time. And I say, no, it's it's a involuntary vocal tic. They're not doing it on purpose. It's when their body is stressed, it's producing those sounds. And when we make it into a big deal, that's adding stress. So they come in for various reasons. And we look at it holistically. Like maybe they came in for something emotional or something physical, but sometimes it's actually the whole package. And I remember when I was doing a talk to pediatricians at the Stanford Children's Weekly Conference, and they told me, if you want to present, you have to bring in the research too. And I started looking, I'm like, whoa, all those things that I see, it's actually also backed up with research. Like families that don't have a diagnosis, if it's sensory and versus ADHD, they don't have a diagnosis, and then they feel like they don't have enough support and they get more judgment because, hey, you're a bad parent. Why is your child behaving like that? And it's a lot of frustration and shame. And a lot of times the child is carrying all that. And they're like, why is my brain not listening to me? So I was looking into how do I explain it to little kids in simple words? And I say, you know what? Our brain is kind of like a computer, right? And we have buttons. And sometimes some buttons are pressed on too high, so we experience it very, very strong. Like when you're tired and sounds are seem louder and you are more agitated, that's normal because your body is stressed. So that is proportional. But if on a daily basis, everyone can tolerate going to the movies, but for me it's painful, or it can't sit at the table when there are certain smells and it's a big deal. Oh, the smell, and run away. And everyone else is not reacting like that. Why is my brain reacting like this? Or why I remember this kiddo who said, I know that kids don't want me to hug them, but it's like it just happens because when his body's stressed, he does it without even thinking, and it's very frustrating. So I tell them some buttons might be turned on too high, so then we're oversensitive to something, but sometimes the buttons are turned on too low, and then we're craving that input. We're craving more of that. And the biggest one, like we all know the five senses, but there's also the proprioception, which is some kids that need or they stumble all the time because they calculate wrong their body in space. They calculate it wrong, so they bump into things or bump into people or accidentally break the pencil because they put too much pressure because they
Pressure.
miscalculated. Or there's the vestibular of the kids that can't have their feet off the ground, or the ones that need to spin all the time. But the biggest one, and that is the one that I see the most in practice, is the eighth sense, which is the information coming from within. Do I need to go potty? And a lot of kids will say, I don't. And you see that they need to. They wiggle. You know that their body is in discomfort, but they don't realize it yet. Parents think they're just busy. It's not that. They really don't feel it until now, right now, stop the car. And it's late. And could be, am I hungry or not hungry? Because some kids don't eat enough. They think they're not hungry, but their body is. And you see kids that won't stop eating, and you know that there's no way they're hungry, but they feel that they're hungry. And then there's the emotions, that we feel the emotions very strongly. That's also information coming from within. And then for some kids, if they are like, are I angry, the wood element, the anger button, that's the one that's going to be affected, and their anger is going to be very big. And for some, like our perfect run kids, the perfectionist, the middle elements, for them, if someone cheats or something isn't fair, that drives them crazy. They don't know why they overreacted, but that's their overreaction. So each kid will be affected in probably the emotion that is most dominant for them. Uh, that also affects not just emotions, it's the information from within, it's the stress hormones. So it could be the muscular tics, like kids that have a lot of blinking their eyes, or the vocal tics. For some, it could be a migraine or eczema. So it's all coming from that eighth sense.
Wow, you just described my personal child in so many words. And me. And I'm sure for our listeners who listen, this can be such a valuable resource to know what sensory integration is and to understand that our kids feel the world really big sometimes.
Yes.
And that affects regulation, our emotional regulation, like you mentioned. It's also, and when we're not regulated, that's going to affect our ability to complete a task, to do something that we were supposed to do. And you're right, when we are tired, everything sounds loud and annoying and we get irritable because we are humans, right? and and I think like what you said also about how as parents we can model this. So I think that's also something from the parents to start the awareness for we themselves and also our teachers. I mean, I remember that a few years ago, a very good friend of mine, she's a colleague of mine, she's an advocate, an educational advocate. And she told me, um, I always tell the teachers to check in with themselves before they enter the classroom.
Wow. Beautiful.
And this is so important, especially when you are one educator with a group of 20 something kids. You have to regulate your nervous system before teaching.
True. And I share that before I had all those tools that working on the flexibility of our computer. Years ago, I was working with someone that had CRPS, which is a condition where, say you hurt your arm. She hurt her. Yes, she hurt her arm. And it's supposed to heal after a while. But some buttons are off, and the brain is sure that something is very wrong and it's painful. And there's discoloration, and it's so painful you can't even touch it. And it's not proportional to anything. And doctors say, there is no physical reason. There's nothing we can do because nothing is wrong. It's just the brain thinking that something is wrong. And so what I was doing was desensitizing. So I would work where it was safe, like above it. And I would gradually come a little closer and a little closer and a little closer, thinking that I want the brain to think, oh, this is okay. It's actually okay. And we did it very slow and very gradual. And then I was working with kids with cancer medication. Sometimes it causes restless leg syndrome and pain. And I was doing the same thing, just thinking desensitizing. So I tell parents, or when I teach play therapists, I say, think creative. If something is too much, you want to desensitize. So if it's too loud, let's choose the volume that works. And then play games, make it fun and less stressful. Like, let's see what helps us. Turn it on just a little bit. Let's see if we turn off the lights, does it make a difference? If we dance, does it make a difference? Like, see and kind of make it into a game and not stressful. And slowly, slowly feel comfortable with just a little bit more. So we can do it with different things. Like when it's underreactive, like someone is having a hard time locating things in the room, then we can train that muscle, right? We can play spot it, we can do scavenger hunts. We want to train that sense to be more heightened.
You mentioned gut and allergies and stuff like that. Many of our neurodiverse population, when I say neurodiverse, I'm talking also about my family people. Okay, this is not just the
Yes,
entire
very broad.
community. It's
Very,
very
very broad.
broad about allergies and food sensitivities. Can you talk a little bit more about the gut brain connection?
Yes, of course, of course, of course. Uh, wow, that is a whole
I know
other
it's a big
subject.
topic,
It
but in
is,
few
it is.
words.
And I can say, like, with ADHD, some people come and they're like, I tried medicine, this doesn't work, and I say, you know what? There are so many different presentations of it and so many different reasons that there is no one size fits all.
Mhm.
It is something causing, in general, right? This is also very general, discomfort or lack of quiet in our nervous system, right? And Sometimes it's as simple as I eat something that my body doesn't like. Like you see a child that has a runny nose, and it could be because of dust or seasonal allergy or something they're eating, and you look at it, and if you think about it, yes, something is disturbing their system. Their system is in stress right now, right? Like we said, when we're tired, we experience the world differently because the body is stressed. Not, it doesn't mean that we are stressed, but the body is stressed. It's tired or it's hungry. So if it's now struggling with a food that we're sensitive to, then again, something is, it's not peaceful inside. It's fighting off something. So that can cause discomfort. When when our gut bacteria is out of balance, it can cause a lot of things. Sometimes it causes you to be sensitive to other things where if you now fix your diet and have the right bacteria, suddenly you're not sensitive to it anymore because your whole immune system is stronger. Um, some bacteria, when you have a lot of bad gut bacteria, it can actually cause anxiety and mood disorders. So it's such a big topic. And yes, often the kids that need it the most, they crave the food that isn't good for them. Like when you have overgrowth of candida yeast, that yeast craves all the it craves, but for us, it just causes discomfort in the body, even if we're not aware of it. So some people when they change their diet, and that makes a big difference. Some people it's something different. For some it could be just a sensory overload. They are thinking, oh no, I can't focus, but it's not because they have ADHD, it's because the visual stimulation or the auditory stimulation. And if they find a way to quiet that out, suddenly they can focus. For some, it's actually a dental problem, or orthodontics, like their airway is not open enough, so they mouth breathe. Their sleep isn't good. So yes, that makes sense. Then they're tired, so it's hard for them to focus. So there are so many different things. Diet is one of them, but it's super big.
So what parents can do, let's just, I'm thinking about maybe you can think about a case that you work with. Maybe it's a client that is neurodiverse, ADHD, or autistic, and or both. And then what would you look at? Like how will the process will be like for them?
If it's related to food,
Yeah.
okay. So I can tell that often the parents are more afraid of the change than actually the kids are. Because I remember this kid, and that was in my home office a few years ago. I told the mom he's drinking a lot of dairy and he's sensitive to dairy, so I would start with that. She's like, no, that I can't do. Like he won't agree. And I asked, is it okay if I give him, just a taste? Because you can make it into a game and go with him and buy a few different and rate them, my favorite, least favorite, and make it into something, not, don't make a big deal out of it. Make it into something fun that you're doing together. And I asked the kid, or after the mom approved, that I could give him a tasting of, I think I had a coconut milk or almond milk or something. And she said, sure, if you have some. And he tried and he asked for more. And
Mm.
it was funny. But yes, some kids are very strict to one food, and that's the food that isn't good for them, and they're very picky and they notice that change. So I say make it very gradual. Like if you want to switch from gluten, then I say just make it half and half. And or sometimes just go and get, they love bagels, get gluten-free bagels. Even though you know that when you buy it, you look at the ingredients and you don't like them at all, don't be minded of that at the moment. First try. I often encourage parents to take the kids with them and do the shopping together, just so the kid feels like they have choices. They're part of the process. Each child is different. Some need to be, and some need to be. Um, so for some, they needed to be more. reward system. So every child is different according to their motivation. But like for with my child, I can say it was a huge difference. Like he was waking up and you can see he's tired and kind of grumpy and hard for him to sit still, running nose, hearing loss because of that running nose. And I said, I don't want to just give him, the doctor said, just give him something to dry up the runny nose. And I said, no, it's not going to fix anything. I'm just going to give him a medicine that doesn't fix anything. I want to know why, because it's affecting, if I give him the medicine, it's not going to affect his behavior, his sleep. Something is bothering his computer, and
Mhm.
just stopping the runny nose is external. And so when I realized it was gluten, when I stopped 5 days, he was clear. And
Oh,
then
wow.
he saw a different child. I I was shocked. His behavior was totally different. He could focus. He could sit still. There was still work to do. We still had to find ways to work on learning to sit still, but and be in the moment. That was something different. But physically, he was so much calmer.
Mm.
And that when I saw that, I said, okay, I know how difficult it was for parents. I put together a presentation, how to go gluten-free from, baby steps. Just because like I know parents are afraid. I was afraid too, because all his meals in school were gluten. And then in one day I had to stop it all. So I just started by going and buying any junk I could that is gluten-free, just so he feels like he has all the things he wanted to. And then later I started doing it myself. And then later I also made it into sourdough. But that was a process because I saw how great it was for him, that dietary change.
Yeah. And we know that eating, you know, um, very healthy nutrition is really important for the gut balance and the good bacteria, right? So we know about probiotics. We're not going to talk about it because it's not a nutritionist session, but we understand that there is a connection between gut and brain. And we live, we live in the US, and there's a lot of processed food, there's a lot of sugar in our food, a lot of salt in our
Mhm.
food. So making that understanding of our food coloring, so making the understanding that hey, Halloween is coming, you guys, we're recording this before Halloween, so there's going to be some sugar and some food coloring. So limitation, really important for our kiddos. I want to kind of talk a little bit more because when you and I talked outside of the podcast, I shared with you that I have misophonia. And so for our listeners, this is a sound sensitivity condition, and it affects emotional regulation. Um, so what kind of sounds do you know that is typically uh, can be a trigger, and how common it is, and what strategies we can do in the school? Because for me, I can say that clicking pens is
Yes.
something that I cannot stand. Like, I'm like, I really feel like even just talking about it, I'm very aware of what is happening in my body right now.
Yes.
I feel like so like tense right now. I'm very tense. Wait, I need to relax my system. So how we can deal with this.
So misophonia versus when it's an auditory sensory processing challenge. Sensory challenge usually you see very, very early on, like the child can't stand loud noises, a vacuum, toilet flushing. Misophonia just appears one day, could be out of the blue. I've seen it happen after someone, and it could be a child, could be a teenager as well. It could be after they had a virus. Sometimes it's after something emotional, and it could be that it wasn't even we don't think it was a trauma, but for them that triggered something that kind of played with those buttons. And it's not loud noises. It could be even soft voices, but it's specific sounds. Like I've seen the most um, chewing,
Mm-hmm.
where people could not eat with their family members or friends because the chewing, yes, drove them crazy. So it does two things. One, it's specific sounds that trigger a very big emotional response. Like you said, the clicking of pens. So as much as possible to accept and reduce that the pressure of them having to deal with it. So if they know that chewing is an issue, then let them not, eat in a, they want to eat at the counselor's room or somewhere else that is quiet, then let them, because yes, for them it's a big issue. Or help them find a solution. Maybe if they put something with white noise next to them and that helps reduce that, whatever
Mhm.
helps reduce that stress. And at the same time, find ways to work on the stress in their nervous system, because their stress response is big. So the stress button is also very high. So if it's physical exercises that they do that help reduce the stress, or if it's they go and get massages, weekly massages or something, or pressure points that they choose to do, and those pressure points help reduce that stress in their system. But I would support them and acknowledge it, as to not add more stress. Oh, just sit with your friends. No, if it's stressful, we need to acknowledge that this is what they're feeling. They are hearing those sounds, experiencing those sounds very differently than the rest of us, and they should not be judged. It's real. So I think that already the acknowledgement and having some accommodations already reduces the stress of being judged.
Yeah, especially, in the school system, the sensory, like there can be so many triggers from
Yes,
food, from smells, from touch, like tactile, um, kind of, maybe fabrics or um something they need to touch during school hours, and of course the sounds. So those can really affect their learning, because their nervous system is reacting to this. Most of the time when I see clients, I give them a sensory integration personal like questionnaire, because some of them are even not aware that they have it. And there is an assessment that can be done in an occupational therapy office. So, and we actually many times will refer to somebody like yourself or to an OT to help them with the sensory integration, but also have the understanding that this might follow them for the entire life. So we have to be, like you said, validate what they feel and accommodate. Like you said, go if they don't want to sit in the cafeteria, that's okay. Maybe they can sit in, in the office, or and not as a punishment, but as a way of accommodation. If they
exactly.
are uncomfortable using the bathroom in the, where the school is because of the smell, the public where all the kids go, it's not the cleanest place. And then it's okay if we have a 504 to have them use a different bathroom, maybe the staff bathroom, which might be more cleaner. If they have challenges with noises, absolutely let them use noise canceling headphones or any type, or do take a test in a different environment. So there are things that can be done in a 504 accommodation plan. If your child is in a private school, you can also do that as well. So talk with your team, and if they don't know about sensory integration, then educate them. I mean,
Yes.
there are great resources out there. Star is one of them. Star sensory something. I can put that in the comment section. And if you guys, if you know any, Neta, we are more than happy to share. I want to hear more about your mistake and friends. I find this is really interesting, and how we can help kids, understand emotion. And I want to say one more thing regarding this. Kids who are having challenges understanding their own emotions have challenges with reading comprehension, understand emotion between characters that they read. They might have challenges in writing because they won't be able to bring into the paper, their expressive language when it comes to how I felt when, if they write a personal narrative. So it does affect so much. And of course, social skills
Mhm.
that are crucial. So I would love to hear more about how did you guys, I mean, you already shared how did you guys came up with this, but what can we do? Where can we find it?
So we have on our website, mistakenfriends.com. We have resources for parents, we have resources for kids, we have printable activities that for the kids or for the parents and the kids or the therapist and the kids or the teacher to do with the kids. And I would start actually with the YouTube, which is also mistakenfriends.com. I'm sorry, Mistaken Friends on YouTube. Sorry. There's a song that introduces all the characters, and through these characters, the kids can experience lessons of anger through Ray Angry. And there's also a video for Angry explaining that anger in Chinese medicine gets stuck in the head. So how he feels when he's angry, it's stuck in my head. And then we show an exercise and a magic button from Chinese medicine that kids can do when they're angry to send that energy back down. And then it's instead of saying breathe or calm down, we say, hey, do you want to do our angry trick? Or Drama Mia, Drama Mia. She's super happy and excited, but everything is the end of the world. Everything is such a big drama. So Drama Mia explains that when she's overwhelmed, it's like her energy is scattered all over the place. And so we show an exercise and a magic button you can do when you feel overwhelmed. Through Pleasington, they learn lessons of being too worried and a little bit of low self-confidence. And we also show how worry feels in the body and exercise you can do for that. Through Perfect Drawn, they experience being very perfectionist and judgmental towards yourself and learning to make those mistakes and accept them. And Perfect Run struggles with being sad, so we show an exercise for that. And then we have Fearlena, which represents fear but also going with the flow. And so they work through challenges of fear through her, and she also teaches what to do when you're afraid. What does it feel like in your body and what to do. So through the videos, the kids can get to know the characters better. There's meditation for focus, which teachers use like in the morning when kids come in and they're all scattered, their brains are scattered all over. Then each character gives a small exercise that they can do to help better focus. There's one meditation for just relaxation. There are read alouds, and each read aloud is on a different topic. Or we have short episodes of Kid Power with Mia and friends, where Mia talks about, and she's a kid, so
Mm.
kids can relate to her better. But she talks about how to choose positive versus negative, or how to be a team player. And then each episode has a free printable that parents or teachers or therapists can download and do with the kids to kind of talk about it without talking about it. Because, right, we want it to feel like we're just having fun. We're reading a story, we're watching a video, we're having fun. We're not calling it emotions, except for the kids that want to. Like, there are kids that want to talk, like the kids that want to get acupuncture. But for those who don't, we call it play and just do that kind of along the way as part of it.
Is the acupuncture is something that parents can also find those acupuncture points in your resources?
Um, we have some pressure points in the video about different emotions, like
Mm.
a point for, so there's a like a breathing exercise for each emotion and a pressure point they can use. It's not the only one, but we don't want to bombard them. So we gave them some examples. It's the same with the focus meditation. Each character has one trick they can do that helps them focus. So again, we don't want to bombard, but then it's easy. Each shall say, I like Dramamia's point, or I like Perfect Ron's point. And when I was doing a lesson in different schools, they let me do one class. So it's not a lot that I can do. So kind of we read a story and met the characters and talked about different emotions. And I gave them an exercise for each emotion. And then the counselor told me that when she saw kids afterwards, and she came with me to the classes, and they came to her, and each child showed her a point that they remembered. They took one point that helped them calm down, which is that's the goal, to give them tools that are relatable, that they're easy. Again, no judgment. It's just something physical I do when my body feels uh, angry or overwhelmed. And instead of saying calm down or breathe, which some kids don't like, or
Yeah.
most kids don't like.
I would say like most of my teens will
Yeah,
roll their eyes on me because I'm also a meditation educator, and I get a lot of like eye rolling. And like, guys, this is what you do. We have this tool in our body. You don't need to pay for it. You do it anyhow. Just,
exactly.
do it longer and hold it. So that's like, how do we transfer it for the teens, right? Because that's my crowd.
Yes,
But I think pressure points are awesome, and they're a great way also to teach teens, right? About, okay, this is something you can do for yourself. No, you mean you don't bring any attention to yourself. I mean, you just do it. Neta, what are your tips for parents, educators, any kind of like, um, to end this podcast, takeaways? What do you want to share?
okay. I want to share that our computer is fascinating and it's flexible. Sometimes, and it could be, again, a virus or something emotional, something can trigger, and some points or some buttons will be a little off, but there are so many ways to balance. So think about, what does my child need from me? Not judgment. They need me to work with them on calming their nervous system and helping their body find balance. And maybe it's a yoga you do together. Maybe, oh, we also have a massage video on our channel. You could maybe do massage for them. Maybe find a fun meditation to do with them. Find pressure points, or again, so many different techniques. Or sometimes it will be when they learn to play the piano and that's their quiet spot. So think creative. Think Just remember that our brain is, wow, it's incredible, and we can work on those buttons, but we do it without judgment, without stress, with a lot of intuition and love and play and fun. So yeah, a lot of tips, but take the one that speaks to you the most.
I love it. This is fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was such a great conversation.
Thank you. It was.